the International Federation of Rural Surgeons started a series of lectures for rural surgeons. And one of the lecture was on the laptop cystoscope, how the rural surgeons can use it. Today we're going to give you a short summary of the lecture. There's another video which gives the full lecture. The need for a laptop cystoscope is because the regular cystoscopy procedure is expensive, especially if you're not doing the entire gamut of urology procedures, because we need a cystoscope which has a outer sheath, the bridge, and the most expensive part, which is the telescope. Then to provide light, you need a light source and a light cord. Then we need a monitor or a TV. And then if you're not directly looking into it, we need a camera system. And in addition to all this, we need to have a proper power supply to back up all these things. So these make everything very expensive. But then the last few lectures, we saw how cystometrogram and cystoscopy would help to make diagnosis in most of the urology patients. So very often we combine both the cystometrogram or bladder pressure studies with cystoscopy. And what do we use all these low-cost cystoscope for? If we can look at the second picture or the first picture, these are two prototypes that we made. These are very simple scopes which have only a camera and connects directly to the laptop computer, so that you don't need all these fancy systems. And you don't even need a separate power supply, because the laptop, when fully charged, would provide the power for the camera which is incorporated. So most of the time we said we'd combine it with the low-cost method of bladder pressure studies or cystometrogram, which we described earlier. And then another important skill that the rural surgeon needs to learn is to do a double J stenting. So here you can see the ureteric orifice. And if you learn how to pass a double J stent, first you need to pass a guide wire and then the stent over it. And again, for stent removal, it is much easier to just pull out the stent. These two procedures would help you to treat most of the patients in rural areas, because many of the stones between 6 to 12 millimeters, once you put in a DJ stent, the ureter dilates to about 1 or 3 times the usual size. And that would make the stones come out on their own. Another important use would be for bladder wash. See, normally if there is a bleeding in the bladder, the source might be a very small one, maybe a very tiny tumor or a little bit of injury due to stone. But then once clots form, it continues to bleed, because these bleed venous bleeds. And once there is a clot which prevents muscles from collapsing, the bleed will continue. So once the bleed continues, then the bladder slowly distends, and the more it distends, there is more bleeding. And if you try washing it with the 3-way catheter or without, with just ordinary catheter, it'd be difficult, because the catheter will collapse and it's difficult to wash. So you need to pass the cystoscope under vision, and it'd be easy to use either the Ehrlich evacuator or the plastic evacuator, or even a large syringe for it. And one more use would be that normally when the patient's present, they have a large tumor which probably urologist is necessary to resect. But then after that, the patient needs a monthly follow-up because it's a multicentric origin. And each time, very tiny tumor may be seen. So these, if they are vaporized or treated by locally, it's much easier for the patient. They don't have to go all the way to the place where urologists are available to get them treated. Ordinary Bugbee electrode is enough to just touch and cauterize these tumors, which is easily possible using the laptop cystoscope. And this would be a great boon for patients with transitional carcinoma in rural areas. And again, sometimes patients with bladder outflow obstruction due to BPH might come with the urinary retention. And although you might be better off to just put a catheter, after a few days, it's patient would start complaining about the catheter because when the pain and acute situation, the patients are okay with the catheter. But then they might have to wait for a long time for a urologist to come and treat them. So one other thing which is possible is to use the cystoscope and the Bugbee electrode to make a small passage in a safe area, which is well beyond the verumontanum, to remove or make enough prostate tissue to make a passage. And if we actually have a look at how the vapor prostatectomy is done, the pictures would almost look similar to how we do with the Bugbee electrode. So if we have the desire to do the full prostate, taking a long time, it might be possible to do that also. Or it may be just sufficient to create a passage for the urine to come out and relieve the block. And then normally urethral strictures, leathers are treated with a cold knife. So you see the stricture, you pass and cut with a cold knife. But then if that is not possible, if it is as tiny as shown in this figure, they might go into retention and it'll make things difficult because once the patient goes into retention due to stricture, then you need to put a suprapubic catheter. And then once suprapubic catheter, then healing is there, it's very difficult for the urologist to get to the bladder from below. So when you see a small opening like this, you might be able to just enlarge it a little bit using a Bugbee electrode and a cutting current and be able to pass a small infant feeding tube. But if that is not possible, then the best thing to do is to put in a suprapubic catheter. And again, if you would like to do a cystolithotomy for a small stone, you can do it in a minimally invasive way. So what we need to do is to pass the cystoscope, fill the bladder. Then through the lower abdomen, you can pass a 10 mm or 12 mm port that we use in traditional laparoscopic surgeries. And then you can also use a specimen retriever to retrieve the stone under vision and then pull it out. So you make only a small incision in the bladder, depending on the size of the stone. And then if you're a little more adventurous, you can even use diagnostic laparoscopy using this scope. But here there is a very important thing you need to remember. Because with traditional cystoscope, or a laparoscope for that matter, the light is a cold light and the tip is not hot. But here the light bulbs which produce the light are at the tip of the scope. So there is a little bit of heat which is generated near the tip. And the problem is that it might become sufficiently hot, and if you keep on touching the bowel or some area for a long time, to cause some damage. But in urology, it doesn't matter because there is irrigating fluid which keeps regularly removing the heat. But if you're doing it for diagnostic laparoscopy, you need to be very careful not to touch any bowel or any other tissues when you're doing it. And once you graduated further, if you're able to do diagnostic laparoscopy, you can even do appendicectomies. So what we used to do earlier before we got the regular laparoscope is that we used to make a small incision. This is for elective appendicectomies over the appendix near the McBurney's point. And with a grasper, hold on to the appendix, bring it out, do the surgery as shown in the figure, and then push it back. And of course, for surgeries like tubal ligation, this makes it much more easier. You can do it with a small umbilical incision. And it's fairly easy to do tubectomies because you need to pick up the tube and even you can even cauterize it, you can tie it, or whatever method you want to use, you can use for tubal ligation. Of course, these just for the sake we are mentioning, but I don't think you should do any of these. And if you have the capability of doing renal surgeries, especially for stones, what we would advise is that not to do a nephrotomy. In other words, try and remove all the stones through an incision in the renal pelvis. But then when the renal pelvises are not extrarenal, most of them are interrenal and very small. So then the problem with doing a nephrotomy is that at the time of surgery, the bleeding might settle and everything may be normal. But we had very serious and significant bleed 10 days later due to secondary infection. And if there is any block, even a small block, the pressure inside can make the incision burst open again and start bleeding. So as far as possible, it's not good to make any incision in the kidney. So what is could be done is, as much as possible, you remove through the renal pelvis. And then you can use a regular cystoscope to have a look at the other areas and break the stones with the lithoclast and remove them. And of course, we have done a few things like cholecystoscopy. When you find that the pus in the gallbladder or it's very difficult to do cholecystectomy, sometimes we just use SPC to current cannula and put it in a drain. And after 6 weeks, a tract forms. And it might be easier or quicker for resolution if you just have a look inside and give a wash and break and remove the stones. And some patients who are not come for repeat surgery have done well with just cleaning and washing the gallbladder. Although this is not advised, it is possible to facilitate the recovery process. And of course, even though now this is the first generation equipment that we developed, and even though we are making improvement, there are some problems with the laptop cystoscope. One is that the camera is an autofocus camera, which means that it takes a few seconds to give a bright, clear picture. So you need to wait at the place where you need to have a look. And also, you should not have jerky movement. Movements should be gentle. And for procedures like DJ stenting and so on, generally we use a 30 degrees telescope. But here, right now, it's possible to only have a 0 degrees. So all these things have to be in mind. And if you're doing for non-urology procedures, there is some amount of heat generated at the tip. And now, thanks to the lockdown, the International Federation of Rural Surgeons and the Association of Rural Surgeons of India have started a real-time online training program with the certification from a university and also supervision through Zoom meetings. So you can learn things like how to do urodynamic studies, diagnostic cystoscopies, minor procedures like DJ stenting. These are initially taught through didactic lectures and Zoom. You can also have Zoom consultations for your patients. And then later on, when you're ready to do it, supervision of the procedures using Zoom. The ARSI and IFRS have a rule surgery training and research center in a place called Biru in Jharkhand in India. And these places accredited to the Martin Luther University, which can also give a certificate or credentialing later if required. If you would like more details about it and if you like to enroll for the course, you can contact Mr. Keso, who is helping us with these videos and the various programs. Thank you.